Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel, honey. And listen, I want us to dive into this interview that Evelyn Lozada and her daughter Shanice had with the rapper Game. Okay, we have to talk about it, but before we get into it, y'all already know.
Not talking unless y'all giving me land and 2,000 or more every week. You hear me?
I'm not talking. I'm not talking unless y'all giving me likes and 2,000 or more subscribers every week. You hear me? Hmm? Okay, then. Go ahead and like up the video. All right. Now, let us dive into this interview. Okay. So, first of all, Evelyn Lozada, she appears to be overly excited to have the Game there more than her daughter, who actually has a child with this man, who actually has somewhat of a relationship, because I'm starting to believe that it really wasn't a relationship at all. For real, for real. But yeah, Evelyn is super duper excited to have him on the platform. And I'm trying to think, maybe it's because maybe he has the largest fan base out of everybody else that's come, or is she excited because she knows the people are going to be tuned in, watching? I don't know, but she was super excited. All right. Now, when Shanice asked him, like, what took you so long to come on his podcast, he says that he was waiting to come on a podcast because he wanted his hair to grow out so that he could get braids or something like that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, he came on the podcast in a do-rag and a hoodie. I should have knew right then, there, in that moment, how comical this interview was about to be. Now, throughout me watching this interview, at some point it is confirmed, though, even though you kind of already are picking up on it, because Shanice is not showing her excitement as much as her mom is. You can tell that the Game and Shanice have had a rocky road, and they do go on to confirm that later on in the interview. But for me, after hearing that and I'm watching this interview, I'm like, well, girl, that's likely a reason why he did not come onto the podcast, because y'all were having friction. It definitely could have been that, but let him tell it was because he wanted his hair to grow out and he wanted to have some braids before he came onto the podcast. Either way, okay. Now, Evelyn gave this man one compliment, and I just felt like he spent different times throughout this interview gushing over Evelyn. It kind of made me think like, yo, were you a fan before you got with her daughter? Or did you guys have a really good friendship yourself before you got with her daughter? Or were you just giving her these compliments to likely make Shanice feel some type of way? And those were the thoughts that I had. And then at some point during the interview, he does mention something. And it was more so towards the end of the interview where he talked about his mom and his grandmother. He was talking about the love that he received from his grandma and how his mom is going to watch this podcast and she's not going to feel slighted in any way, shape, or form when it comes to the love his grandmother had for him. And I'm like, why would you even mention it? Like, what does that have to really do with anything? Like, why would you? So in that moment, I said, well, he's likely mentioning it because there has been some issue between Shanice and Evelyn, and how Evelyn shows up as a grandma. I guess I can understand that, because sometimes our parents do think that our children are their children, but then be quick to also remind you that that ain't my child at the same time. So I'm like, okay, I kind of understand it from that standpoint. But then I also wondered, could there be more? Maybe Shanice doesn't like the fact that if I'm at odds with this guy, you continue to develop and maintain a relationship with this man, you know? So maybe Shanice felt the way about that. I don't know. Maybe there's been some issue between the both of them, which is why I also was like, is that why you keep giving her these compliments? You know, I will hope not, because you won't want to trigger your baby mama and then y'all be over there on the outs yet again. Another part of this interview for me that stuck out was, not only was Evelyn super excited about him being on the show more than her daughter, she was in more of conversation with him than her daughter, it seemed. So it just made me question whether or not whatever friction that he and she had been having, is that still existing at this particular time? So, not sure. Just an observation, all right? Just an observation. Now, Evelyn does go on to speak on the feeling that she had when she learned about her daughter's pregnancy, and then also learning about the fact that her daughter was pregnant by the Game. She was like, oh, damn, we don't fucked up.
How did you make me a grandmother before 50?
You know,
How did that happen, Jay?
I knew.
It was 49.
Yeah.
It was before 50, technically.
I knew you were in the crunch, you know what I'm saying? And I wanted to hit you with that so that by the time you're 60 years old, you have a whole like 5th, 6th grader. You know, I didn't want to wait, you know, any longer because, you know, who knows, you know? We're getting old.
Well, you made Welly a grandmother at like 38.
She was 38. I did make, my mom was a grandmother at 38.
Oh, well, so there it is.
Because I had Shanice so young, but all I know is that I didn't know how to process the information.
It happened very quickly.
Yeah,
you know?
like I didn't know how to like process it, right? Like Shaw tells me she's pregnant. Obviously, we have a great private conversation. And I had to sit with it for a little while because I'm like, I'm gonna be a grandmother. Like this is weird, you know? Like
now, Evelyn does go on to mention that he was a great dad, and I question that too. And I'm like, how do you know he was a great dad? Was it because you guys were great friends before? Was it because you were great friends with his other baby mama, Tiffany? What was it? How would you know how great of a dad that he is? Because I don't think that Instagram is enough to showcase a person as a super great dad, right? Or great mom. It's not enough. So were you in contact with this guy and y'all just maintained, you know, a subtle friendship, and that's how you were aware of how good of a dad he was? And if that is the case, if you guys were friends before, that's crazy that you guys will be friends, but he's over here dating your daughter and you knew absolutely nothing about it. But maybe she just heard through the grapevine. Maybe from her distance of observation, she was able to see how great of a father he was. You all let me know your thoughts on that, because something didn't really seem right. So I'm like, how would you know? Would you know it because of him, or would you know it because of Tiffany, the one friend that you're now denying being a friend of? So I don't know. Either way, she also indicates again how she and he continue to talk. When she needs help with something or anything, she reaches out to him. Evelyn, how do you view the game? Do you view him as a really good friend? Do you view him as an ex-boyfriend of your daughters? Or do you view him as just your grandchild's father? I am sure Shanice feels a way that may be part of the friction. Of course, I feel like parents and kids, they can always have their friction, have their issues, difference of understanding, difference of parenting, a lot of stuff. But I feel like Shanice probably feel a way that you stay in contact with this man so much.
You know, we've been doing the family thing for some time. I'm like, I couldn't even see my life without Blaze.
Yeah.
So grateful that you're in our lives, because I feel like, you know, you and I, like, well, you know, whenever I need advice, I'm doing something, the podcast, whatever, like, you know, it's been good. Like it flows, you know. We've had a few bumps in the road. Shaw's looking like.
I feel like, Evelyn, you could have been playing it up just to show how unified you guys are as a family unit. But honestly, based on how a lot of people are perceiving y'all, it kind of doesn't really look that good. Right? It's like, why do parents always try to be friends with the exes and stuff? Like, what's going on? Like, leave them folks where they at, in a sense. Okay? Just a little bit. Like, it's one thing to have open communication with this person because they are the father to your grandchild, but then also you calling him for everything. Hey, can you give us a name for a podcast? Hey, we want to do a podcast. What do you think about this? Hey, this, that, and the other. I honestly would have expected her to lean on her ex-fiance, Carl, more than she leans on this man, because I feel like Carl has a bit more success in the music industry and in business in general. Whereas, not saying that the game doesn't, but the game do have these legal charges and damn near lost his house because of it. So it's like, either way, leave your thoughts on that. Now, the game does speak on his reaction to learning about the pregnancy himself and how he was completely shocked and he was still processing everything, although Shanice had already processed things. So for her, she didn't get the reaction that she wanted from him. She actually cried about the reaction that she got from him. And he says he absolutely loves his children and he didn't want her to feel bad or anything, but he felt like he was thrown to the wayside with the news. What? And also, for him to say he loves his children, it's like, of course you love your kids. Of course you love your kids. A lot of people love their children, but there are also a lot of people that were not prepared to have another child, were not prepared to have their first child, did not likely want to have a child with this person, but just enjoy the sex of it all, and decided to keep the child in the long run. And of course, now that the child is here, you love them down, but that was not your initial thought and reaction when you first learned the news. Because it was like he was trying to excuse his reaction by saying, you know, I absolutely love my kids. I love my kids. Duh, we know that. We know that's going to happen. At least we will hope that would be something that happened. But in the moment, his real reaction was like, dang, I just wanted to hit it. I thought it was cool to say that I would want a child by you, but I ain't really want a child by you, not for real. I think it's safe to say that he did not want another child. I think that man was financially set on taking care of the 3 children that he already had. And one of the things that could have been going through his mind was the fact that, hey, I got to sit up here and go out and make more money. I was cool with making enough money for the children that I do got. Now I'm about to bring somebody else into this world. And I know this is her first child, so I know she's not going to snip and send the child back to heaven. So with that being said, I really got to get out here and hustle and make even more. So maybe that's something that was on his mind. Now, Shanice did want to make note of the fact that he manifested Blade. While you're sitting up here acting so shocked and surprised and oh my God, and you couldn't believe that we were about to have this child and you didn't give me the reaction that I was expecting, you manifested this child because we talked about children. Remember, I felt like that is the reason why she highlighted the fact that they talked about children. Like, yeah, you're acting shocked and surprised, but it sounded like it was something that you wanted. So because I assumed that this was something that you wanted as well, I expected you to be way more happier than what you showed up. I was expecting a bigger reaction than what it is that I got. I really think that sucks for her because although he had her thinking that he wanted more kids, he really was just running game on her the whole time.
You know,
we talked about kids.
Yeah, true. But just so you know, you guys know, because you guys are, you know, beautiful women. You guys are still like women, right? But men, right? Men see a baddie, we think like, I'm gonna get her pregnant. That's what men think when they see a baddie.
You gamed me.
You gamed me.
I'm just asking.
Hey, I'm just saying, when a man really sees a woman that like that he likes and it's a baddie, that be our first thought. Like we be thinking like, damn, like I would have a baby by that. So yeah, I'm manifested. I'm manifested.
Gamed.
Yeah, game manifested. You know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, girl, his name ain't the game for nothing. So Evelyn decides to ask the game about the fact that her daughter doesn't want to vaccinate their son. And Shanice laughs and she's like, girl, this question, like he probably don't even know that I'm not vaccinating our child. So again, another indicator to me that these two don't really talk like that. But y'all wanted to have him on your podcast. I really don't think that was safe. But that's just my personal. Now, he does go on to pretty much support her in her motherhood. At least that's what he says. He doesn't challenge her or anything. It says that she does her research. That's when Evelyn decides to chime in.
I know that she definitely does research. She definitely knows what she's talking about.
She's an investigator.
She's for sure an investigator.
This part also stood out to me during this interview because I'm like, girl, not y'all just sat up here and said she does her research and she's an investigator, but she didn't investigate whether or not this man was a felon.
Yeah.
How many felonies do you have?
Oh, you know.
Blaze
you know
is
what?
gonna ask one day.
Yeah.
So.
I think like on the record, 2 on record.
That's not bad.
It is bad because we live in a 3-strike state. So it is pretty bad.
I thought y'all do background checks on people at least. Well, good luck. So there's another portion of this interview where the game kind of talks about relationships, right? And he says even when relationships don't work out, they actually do because he helps you become the person that you are today. And as he starts to kind of speak on marriages, I caught the fact that he ended up touching Shanice's arm. And then there's another part of that same conversation where he talks about people that are thriving in marriage. And then he looks at Shanice. When I caught those two signs there for me, I said, oh, I get it. Shanice wanted more. Shanice wanted a real relationship. Shanice wanted a relationship that was going to lead to marriage. Shanice did not want to be just another baby mama like her mama. She wanted something more. And I don't fault her for that. I feel like a lot of people want that when they get in these relationships. But honestly, she still could find herself in a situation where if you would have gotten married, y'all got a divorce, he still would have given you the same percentage, likely 10% of what he's giving you now. If y'all got married and ended up divorced. And then you got some women that are in a marriage and they're still doing a bulk of the work when it comes to the children versus the husband. So it's like, I understand the desire for wanting more, but who's to say that you are really going to get more? I'll let y'all argue about that in the comments. Now, the ironic thing also was the follow-up. As we're talking about how her daughter wanted more and everything, Evelyn started to ask both of them, what have they learned during their co-parenting ship with each other?
Which leads me to you guys. Like, what is something that both of you have learned about each other through your co-parenting journey together?
You go first.
So to be honest, she had a way that she thought things should be, or she has a way that she thinks things should be. And I'm not fighting her on that. I think that her thoughts and her outlook on, you know, parenthood and relationship and how a woman should bring a child into the world and what that woman needs and respect and loyalty and everything, you know, in that pot of gumbo of like how you should treat and respect the woman that you're having a child with. I think that all her views are right. I think that I'm used to doing things my way. I'm also an alpha male. I'm also a Sagittarius. I'm also a very hard person to deal with sometimes because I get bullheaded. And when I put my foot down, it's kind of like it's my way or the highway, which is something I'm still working on. And it's probably got real difficult for her in the beginning stages because she felt like, you know, why are you so
bullheaded?
Yeah, and I'm so like calm and patient and trying to figure it out. And I don't think in the early stages that I gave her enough grace to really live it how she saw fit.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead, Shaw.
What was the question? To learn about men?
Yeah, like what have you learned? Because co-parenting sometimes, I mean, obviously, it's not easy. You know, co-parenting with someone's not easy, no matter what
Yeah.
the situation is.
We had a few months of like fire with fire, you know?
Yeah.
Well, thank you for saying that you didn't give me enough grace, because I do agree with you. And I think a lot of my anger came from you not delivering what the expectations were.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that there. But I think that I had to learn how to, when I'm done with someone, I'm done with them. And because you share a child, you can't necessarily be done with them.
Yeah.
So I think I had to learn how to wrap my mind around the fact that, like, this is for life. Because otherwise I would have been like, you know, like, would we be sitting here today if we didn't have Blaze? You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I can
You
see
know,
that.
because otherwise it would have been like, all right.
Yeah, because when you stop talking to somebody, you're like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But when you do share,
I mean, I feel like I would have still been on Drop the Low. So
Now, as the interview begins to wrap up, the game ends it with giving a lot of props to Shanice for being such a great person. And he also talks about who she is as a mom. He just feels like because of her being a great person, which therefore makes her a great mom, he knows for a fact that his child will be in good hands, right? He doesn't feel like he's there majority of the time. It seems to be that she's there 90% of the time, which is another reason why she feels like she's not getting what she was expecting from his end of the deal. So he's continuing to say that he thinks that his child is going to be in great hands with her. And, you know, he trusts her. He thinks she's a great person, a great mom. And of course, him giving some of those props and accolades and everything to her versus highlighting how great her mom is and highlighting how beautiful her mom is. I noticed that after he gave her those compliments to who she is as a person, her physical, and who she is as a mom, for me, that's when I noticed that Shanice, you know, exhaled. Okay. I said, Shanice, girl, you didn't exhale and you didn't smile your biggest smile until after he gave you those things during the interview, as the interview was getting ready to come to a close. Because it's clear that, you know, he talks to her mom more than he talks to her. So I'm sure she's never heard these things from him before. Now we get to this portion of the interview where there are rapid fire rumor questions. Okay. And so she asked him a series of questions. Basically, he denies her ever sitting on his lap and calling him uncle as a child. It doesn't seem like he could recall ever knowing her as a child, but she can recall herself saying, oh, we never met. We never met when I was a child. He also denies Evelyn and Tiffany being friends, right? He says, and Tiffany is the ex, he says, well, a lot of people don't understand Hollywood. A lot of celebrities go to other celebrities' functions. And I hear that, but at the same time, there are more photos of these ladies together outside of just a function, and it's a baby shower. But you know, hey, a lot of times I will say people will invite a slew of folks to their festivities just to maximize on the gifts. So that could have been a situation with Evelyn and Tiff. But if Shani and Tiffany were really close friends and Shani and Evelyn were best friends, y'all didn't have some sort of friendship at all? Shani didn't bring her friendship group together, because there are people that keep their friendship groups separate. So Shani didn't bring those two together at all? I think there may have been some type of friendship at once upon a time, and maybe that friendship did not last long enough for Shani to really care about what her daughter was doing or who she was doing it with. Because here's the other thing too. Earlier on in the interview, when Evelyn talks about how she did not know who her daughter was dating, that's another way of her to like excuse herself in a sense. And it's like, listen, don't fault me, because one, I wasn't best friends with that lady. We weren't cool like that at all. And if any of this matters, I didn't even know who the hell my daughter was dating, let alone who she had a baby by. But what I will say is, before everybody found out about Shanice having a child with the game, people did catch them out and about together at Nobu. So you had to have known some rumors were out there. But again, it doesn't mean that Shanice told Evelyn. Shanice could have been like, oh no, it was just like that. We just went on one date. I don't know the true dynamics between Evelyn and her daughter, but I made the assumption that they were super close. So I would have expected Evelyn to know something about her daughter's dating life. But you know, anything could happen. Leave your thoughts on that down below. Okay. Now, the game also goes on to deny ever having sex with Evelyn, ever having a threesome with her and her daughter, or a train. So all of that the people were bringing to the front, he's saying is not true. All right. He also denies the fact that Shanice is a gold digger. Now, he says people tried to tell him that she was trying to trap him. And Shanice said, oh no, it was the other way around. I don't know if y'all caught her mumbling that into the mic. And then the game says that he can't be trapped or gold dug on. based on how he moves, okay? So if you think you're going to trap me, you're going to be the one trapped in so many words, okay? If you think you're going to get me, no, I'm going to really get you. Well, he definitely ended up getting her. But that was pretty much the interview. They said that it's only part 1. There's supposed to be a part 2 coming. We shall see, okay? I feel like they gave us enough in the first part. Don't know what they could really give us in part 2, but we shall see. Other than that, I gave you guys the highlights of the interview for me. You all leave your thoughts and comments down below about everything that we just got into. Of course, I'm Jamie, that's me, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
Yeah, tell them I preach to the choir. Stand with my feet to the fire. Give all the glory to God. Stand in the midst of these haters, I'm silent, nobody can stop me. Just gotta check in my notification, them numbers hit like it's a proxy. Cashed out at the ATM, and the ATL, they done made a gym. I've been kicking doors like the ATF, got them trying to clone me like Agent Smith. Game time, I invaded gym, high elevated, I can face the rim. Putting shots up, I got laser focus, about to take it over, I'm Invader Zim. On a trip to Florida like it's A&M. Who that nigga, man, they say I'm him. Spit the truth, never wasting film, I can feel it.